If I told you that an incredibly popular YouTuber got outed as a creep, would you be surprised? If you answered yes to that question, I have about a year's worth of bad news for you. But that's besides the point. The creator that I want to talk about today, RobertIDK, has had tons of allegations against him over the last year. Multiple creators, including Lewis McClung, a relatively popular drama YouTuber, have called him out in the past, and yet nothing has happened. If I had to guess why Robert is still popular, it's probably because his 12-year-old audience doesn't really care about what he does as long as they get their weekly slop. To be fair, my audience is probably similar, but I like to think they have morals. I'm hopeful that they would stop supporting me if anything ever came out. Whatever, that's besides the point. Let's get into the evidence against Robert. So the allegations first came to light when user MindGame2004 on Twitter posted the following. RobertIDK is a pedo. On July 17th, 2018, he preyed upon, isolated, and proceeded to take advantage of a 15-year-old fan of his. He was 24 at this time. This was not an isolated incident, and their communication continued for months afterward, long after he learned her age. And then under that post, they had attached a series of text messages. Now, for some context, I believe they met at Warped Tour, which is honestly not surprising. Creeps used to be everywhere at Warped. And in these messages, Robert is acting all flirty and stuff, and it's gross. It's awful knowing the gap that was there. I think it was almost 10 years. Let me check again. Yeah, okay, he was 24, she was 50, so that's a 9-year gap. Now, the two of them discussed meeting at a different show from an artist called Crank That Frank, who apparently Robert was friends with. I looked him up, and despite looking exactly like Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco, apparently he is not Brendan Urie of Panic at the Disco. Anyways, Robert and the girl talk about meeting at the show, where Robert says, "We def can't get away making out in that crowd," which is gross. I'm sure I've said that multiple times by now, but it is. It's gross. All of this is gross. So during a discussion about their relationship, Robert says the following. Yeah, honestly, one of my biggest concerns is just that I don't ever want someone to get attached to me or want something from me that I'm not willing to offer. I'm not really looking for any sort of romantic commitment anytime soon. I know that might sound like a weird thing to throw out there, but yeah. Also, with you being familiar with me before meeting me, it adds a lot to the equation. And then the girl replies, stating, "I get what you mean. I can assure you word doesn't spread, especially not about me. And the few people who know talk amongst each other and to no one else about this kind of really personal stuff. But of course that's another concern, because teenagers are notoriously stupid, and I'm no exception. I respect you a lot, and although I may have feelings, I wouldn't let that get the best of me, not to mention the fact that things spread like wildfire on the internet. Especially when you have an audience, and I can't imagine anything worse than something spreading." This is honestly just sad to me because it kind of shows the victim's self-image with the word doesn't spread about me bit. And it also just shows how pathetic and predatory Robert is. Because keep in mind, 15. And also not a very positive self-image. Robert is going after someone who is easily manipulated and wants to be cared for, and that is the lowest thing a person can do. Now, Robert himself knows how bad this is, but he doesn't care, which is shown in this message. After they had kind of set up sort of boundaries and acknowledged the gap, he responds to one of the girl's messages with, "That's a good way of putting it. It seems like you're cool and mature about it all, so I appreciate that." That is something that bothers me, by the way, saying that someone is mature when they are not. Anyways, I think the other thing is that since you're still in high school, it's kind of a freaky idea that friends would know about the situation and potentially tell other people and whatnot. Do you know what I mean? I know what you mean, Robert. You nonce. Anyways, after that, he compliments her kissing abilities, awful, and then he sort of suggests that they keep things casual. He says, "We don't know each other very well, and so, of course, it's a very delicate and uncertain situation. If we can agree to just keep it as casual as we can give it a try. I mean, what would you tell your parents if I were to swing by and pick you up?" The girl responds and says, "I'm completely down to keep things casual. The majority of my friends are older and drive, so I'd probably just tell them my friend is driving us to someone's house or something." Robert responds, "Haha, alright. I also thought about how I'm about to shave my beard, so I won't look super old anymore." The victim says it would be nice to see him without it, and he responds with, "Am I the first person with a full beard you've kissed?" Can we all just take like 5 seconds and let that sink in? Okay, has it sunk in yet? Because that is just disgusting. And then later on, they have a discussion about Smosh, where she says that 2012 was the best era of Smosh, where he responds with, "Oh my god, you're so young. Smosh was good in 2008. I don't even think she was conscious during 2008. I don't even think that she had the ability to form permanent memories in 2008. If they were 15 in 2018, they would have been 5 at the time." And then later on during the discussion, Robert ends it with this: "I'm actually going to sleep now. I got a horrible sleep last night, sadly, and I have some making up to do. But I'll think about kissing you while in bed, so that's cool." Guys. 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 Notice how every single time that topic has come up, Robert has been the one to introduce it? It's because that's the only thing that's on his mind. He's not interested in a romantic connection or any genuine thing like that. He's just a freak. He's just a creep. And then later on, he offers to pick her up from her high school, which is, I don't even know, man. I mean, like, 15. I know I've repeated myself so many times, but 15. That is younger than I am. And I can't even imagine interacting with someone who's 24. What business do I have being friends with somebody of that age, even? And let me also point out that Robert uses the word skedoodle to refer to transportation. How childish can you be, man? You're 24. Just say transportation or something along those lines. Although I guess he's childish enough to be dating a child, so my point doesn't really stand, but come on, man, grow up. Anyways, after a long time of no contact, he reached back out to the victim and sent a really long series of messages. "Hey, I was just digging through and deleting old messages and saw these. Sorry for not replying sooner. I've just always been really uncomfortable thinking about the whole situation from before, and so I kind of distanced myself from it. To answer the how are yous, I've been doing super well. I really buckled down on my mental health last year and finally figured myself out. And I finally feel as though I'm not a slave to my emotions anymore. I typically never use social media anymore just because of all the negativity that's out there, though. Again, I'm sorry for not replying sooner. I hope you've been well too. And also, I really appreciate the kindness that you've always shown me. It does mean a lot, and I appreciate you being such an understanding and level-headed person." The victim replies, "Of course. I'm glad you're doing so well. I totally get it. It's all good." Robert says, "I appreciate that. That means a lot. I always felt bad about not responding since you've always been kind and well-intentioned. Back in 2018, I received some really horrible messages from some friends of yours, and since then I've just wanted nothing to do with it all." Good. Good. You should have wanted nothing to do with it all, you creep. I'm glad that this person's friends cared enough to reach out and call you out for the person that you are. And then the victim tells him that she didn't know what they were saying about him and that she didn't really talk to them anymore. Robert responds, saying, "I'm surprised you didn't know it all. Yeah, that's also why I was a bit cold at Frank's show. I believe one of the people you were with messaged me a couple nights before. New Year's Day 2019, one of them wrote a post about our Warped Tour situation that obviously was made to make me seem like some kind of serial predator." Because you are. It didn't go anywhere, but honestly, I've dealt with a lot of anxiety about it since then. There's honestly never been another situation in my life where I've done anything like that, where I had that kind of lapse in judgment and the thought of not being able to take it back. Despite having grown to be by far the best version of myself ever, this has been a weight on me for a long time. That being said, I definitely don't want you to hit any of those people up and ask about the situation. If you've moved on from them, then that's great. But anyways, a lot of my anxiety got better once I started blocking my social media and taking extended breaks from it. It sucks that it got to that point, but I'm honestly grateful because it's allowed me to conquer so many more emotional issues. You know what issue you should have conquered, Robert? You should have conquered your pedophilia issue. Now, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but from what I understand, it's usually a cycle, sort of. One person becomes a victim, then they take it out on someone else, and the cycle just continues. Am I saying that's what happened here? No. Am I saying that it's an excuse for what happened here? No. But is it a possibility? Yeah, it's 100% a possibility. Once again, don't take my word for it, but I speculate that this could be a result of some sort of trauma or something that occurred during adolescent development. But yeah, that's really about all I had to say. I don't know when this video is going to come up. Hopefully it comes up tonight, but if it doesn't, then probably in like a week or so. I'm going to try and marathon edit everything together, but I can't guarantee that anything will work, so We'll see. That's about it. I'll see you soon. Peace.